All right. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are doing a deep dive into something super interesting
Yeah.
that I think is very relevant to most of our listeners. And
Yeah.
it's something you hear a lot about, but I don't know that a lot of people really understand it on a deeper level. So we're going to take a deep dive today on the STP model.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of
Of
this?
course.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's one of the fun
the secret sauce.
frameworks of marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us.
So STP stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning.
Okay.
And it's a model that helps businesses refine their marketing strategies to be more effective.
So like when you see a brand and you're like, wow, they really just get me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is that the STP model in action?
Yeah, a lot of times that's exactly what it is.
Okay, so it's not like magic.
No,
It's an actual...
that's a process,
Okay.
a model, a framework.
Awesome. All right, well, let's break it down then.
Yeah.
Starting with the S segmentation.
So what is that all about?
So segmentation is the process of dividing a broad target market into smaller segments or groups based on shared characteristics.
Okay, so like slicing and dicing your audience into different pieces.
Exactly. And the reason we do this is instead of trying to appeal to every single person with the same message, which, let's be honest, is kind of impossible.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster, probably.
Exactly. So instead of trying to appeal to everyone, you divide your potential customers into smaller groups based on things that they share
I see.
so that you can target them more effectively with messages that resonate.
So like age, location, gender, interests, that kind of thing.
All of those, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Demographics, psychographics, behavioral patterns, all of those can be used to create segments.
So like, for example, how would Netflix use segmentation?
Well, think about how Netflix recommends shows and movies to you.
Okay.
They don't just offer one giant library of content to everyone.
Right.
They use sophisticated algorithms to analyze your viewing habits and categorize you into a specific segment based on the genres you enjoy, the actors you like, the directors.
So like those because you watched suggestions.
Exactly.
That's segmentation in action.
That's segmentation in action.
Okay, but doesn't that kind of like pigeonhole people?
Well, it can if it's not done carefully.
Okay.
The key is to use segmentation as a way to understand your audience better, so you can deliver a more relevant, personalized experience.
Not to like box them in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It should be about enhancing their experience, not limiting it.
So it's all about making sure that you're sending the right message to the right people.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our market neatly segmented. What's next?
Okay, so now we move on to T targeting,
Right.
which is basically choosing which of those segments that we've identified
Right.
are the most valuable to focus our marketing efforts on.
Okay, so you're saying don't try to win over everyone. Focus on the folks that are most likely to become like loyal fans. Exactly. It's about understanding your business goals, your resources, and then choosing the segments that offer the highest potential for return on investment.
I see. So like,
So it's like you can't be everything to everyone.
precisely.
Yeah.
Trying to be everything to everyone will probably lead to you being nothing to no one.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, it's much better to focus your energy on the specific groups that are most likely to be interested in what you have to offer.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, let's take Nike, for example.
Okay.
They have a wide range of products, right?
Yeah, tons of stuff.
Shoes, apparel, accessories, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But they don't market everything to every single person.
Right.
They have specific products and marketing campaigns aimed at very specific segments.
Okay.
So, for example, their high-performance running shoes are targeted at avid runners,
Yeah.
athletes,
Right.
people who prioritize things like lightweight materials, cushioning, breathability.
Oh, I see.
They're not trying to convince someone who prefers casual sneakers
Yeah.
to buy those expensive running shoes,
Yeah. Right.
because that wouldn't be a good use of their resources.
So it's all about kind of like maximizing your impact
Exactly.
by knowing who to talk to.
Exactly. You're focusing your energy and resources on the most receptive audiences.
Okay, so we've segmented our market, we've chosen our target audience. What's the final piece of this puzzle?
All right, so the final piece is P positioning.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Ooh, I like interesting.
Yeah, this is about crafting a unique and memorable position for your brand in the consumer's mind.
So it's not just what you sell.
No, it's not just what you sell.
It's like how you make people feel about your brand.
Exactly. It's about defining what makes you different and why someone should choose you over the competition.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these pieces fit together.
Right.
So like, can you give us an example of like a brand that's really nailed its positioning?
Sure, think about Apple.
Okay.
They've positioned themselves as innovators, leaders in design and user experience.
Right.
They're not just selling computers and phones. They're selling a lifestyle, a sense of belonging to a community that values creativity, cutting-edge technology.
So they've like backed up that positioning with every product they release.
Absolutely.
With every marketing campaign, even like the way their stores are designed.
All of that contributes to their overall brand positioning.
Yeah.
It's meticulous
Okay.
and very carefully crafted.
It's not just like slapping a catchy slogan on a product.
No.
It's about like a very consistent and deliberate effort
It's about the entire experience.
to shape how people perceive your brand.
Exactly.
Okay, so far so good.
Yeah,
I am seeing the power of this STP model.
good.
But how about like a real world example that's not like a giant corporation,
Yeah.
like something a little bit more relatable
Sure.
for those of us that aren't running global empires?
Absolutely. Let's dive into an example of a smaller company that's successfully implemented the SDP model.
Okay, so what kind of company are we thinking about?
Okay, so imagine like a small independent bookstore. In a world that is like totally dominated by these online giants.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Right. So they knew that they couldn't just compete on price.
Right.
Or selection alone.
Yeah, they had to do something different.
Exactly. So they really had to get strategic with STP.
Okay.
So first they like looked at their community
Okay.
and they realized that they had this like thriving arts scene
Nice.
in their town. And they also had a growing population of young families
Okay.
and also like a really passionate group of people who love books
Yeah.
and were really looking for a way to connect with each other.
So they saw like an opportunity to be more than just a place to buy books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They realized that they could become like a community hub,
Uh-huh.
a place where people could gather and connect
Okay.
over their shared love of reading.
I like it.
So they segmented their market based on those interests.
Okay.
And they created dedicated sections in their store for different types of books.
Oh, cool.
Like they had a big section for children's books, and they also had a section for art and design books.
Makes sense.
And they even made a point of highlighting local authors.
Nice. I love that.
And they also partnered with nearby cafes and art studios to host events.
Cool. So they're really like making themselves a part of the community.
Exactly. They're not just selling books. They're creating an experience.
Yeah.
And that's where targeting comes in.
Okay.
So instead of trying to appeal to like every single person, they focused on those specific segments
Right.
that aligned with their strengths and the needs of their community.
Okay. So they're choosing their champions, so to speak.
Exactly. They're focusing on the groups that are most likely to become loyal customers.
Okay. And what about positioning?
Right. So for their positioning, they really wanted to emphasize that experience
Okay.
of browsing and discovering and connecting with other book lovers.
So they're not competing on like convenience or price.
No, they're offering something much more unique, something
Yeah.
more personal.
Right.
Think about those like classic bookstore vibes. The smell of old books, the comfy chairs, the knowledgeable staff
Love it.
who can like give you personalized recommendations.
It's like a whole vibe.
Exactly.
It's an experience.
It's an experience that people crave those authentic experiences,
For sure.
especially these days.
Totally.
It's like a refuge from the online world.
I love this example.
Yeah.
It just proves that like this STP model isn't just for like big corporations
No, not at all.
with these massive budgets.
It's really a versatile tool
Yeah.
that can be applied to businesses of all shapes and sizes.
Okay.
The key is to understand the principles.
Right.
And then adapt them to your own unique circumstances.
I see.
So what's like the main thing you want people to take away from our conversation today?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I want them to start to like see the world through the lens of the STP model.
What do you mean by that?
Like start paying attention to the brands you interact with every day.
Okay.
Ask yourself like, who are they targeting
Okay.
with their marketing messages? Like what need or desire are they trying to tap into?
Okay. I'm game.
How are they positioning themselves
Okay.
to stand out from the crowd?
Yeah. What makes them unique?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you start thinking about these things, you'll have this like much deeper understanding of how businesses
Okay.
are trying to connect with their customers.
So we can all be more informed consumers.
Exactly.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, it's like you're getting this like behind the scenes look at how marketing actually works.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when you're scrolling through social media
Right.
and all of a sudden you see an ad that's like eerily relevant to like something you were just talking about with your friend or like you were just thinking about.
That's STP in action.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're using data.
That's a little creepy,
Well, yeah.
but also fascinating.
It is fascinating
Okay.
because it's all about understanding those patterns
Yeah.
and using them to connect with you.
So, like, it's not random, not at all.
It's like very deliberate.
Very strategic.
Okay, so we've explored segmentation,
Right.
dividing that market up,
Yeah.
targeting, choosing our champions,
Yeah.
positioning, crafting that unique brand identity.
Mm-hmm.
But how about we bring it all together?
Okay.
Like, can you give us an example of how all these pieces work together?
Sure. Let's say you're launching a new line of eco-friendly clothing.
Okay, love it.
So first, you would use segmentation to identify different groups of people who might be interested
Okay.
in your products.
So like environmentally conscious consumers?
Exactly.
People who are like really into fashion but also want to be sustainable?
Right.
People who like really prioritize ethical sourcing and all that?
Exactly. So you've identified these different segments.
Okay.
Now you need to analyze them
Right.
and decide which one to target
Okay.
based on things like the size of the market,
Uh-huh.
the growth potential,
Right.
and how well they align with your brand values.
So maybe you decide to focus on young adults who are really passionate about sustainability
Okay.
and are willing to invest in high-quality, ethically made clothing.
Makes sense.
So now you've chosen your target.
Right.
Now you need to think about your positioning.
Okay.
How are you going to communicate what makes your brand special?
Yeah. How are you going to stand out?
Exactly. So maybe you emphasize your commitment to fair labor practices,
Okay.
your use of organic materials, or the fact that your designs are super stylish,
Yeah.
proving that sustainable fashion can be chic.
So it's about like crafting that message
Exactly.
and creating a visual identity
Yes,
that really speaks to that specific audience.
precisely.
Okay.
You want to make sure that your message resonates with them.
And that sets you apart from everyone else.
Exactly.
Just doing similar things.
You got it.
Okay, so it's like a 3-step dance.
I like that.
Understand your audience,
Uh-huh.
choose your focus,
Yeah.
and then tell your story
Tell your story.
in a way that like connects.
Beautifully said.
Okay, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on marketing
That's what we like to hear.
and how it all works
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Remember, this STP model,
Yeah,
it's not just some theoretical concept.
right.
It's a really powerful tool
Yeah,
that you can use in so many aspects of your life.
I love that.
You can use it to understand the world around you.
Yeah.
Make better decisions as a consumer.
Uh-huh.
And if you're feeling really ambitious, even launch your own ventures.
So to our listeners out there,
Yes.
don't just consume marketing.
Right.
Analyze it.
Think critically
Yeah.
about the messages that you encounter every day.
Question everything.
Question the assumptions.
Look for the strategy
Look for the strategy.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one crafting the next brilliant marketing campaign
I love it.
that like totally resonates with
Yeah.
your target audience.
You got
All right, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
my pleasure.
Until next time.
See ya.